In the valley of Elah, where dust and fear hung heavy in the air, two armies stood poised for war. On one side, the armies of Israel, their banners fluttering nervously in the wind. On the other, the Philistines, a formidable and ruthless force. For 40 long days, a stalemate had gripped the land, not because of strategy or tactics, but because of one man. A giant. Out from the Philistine ranks he would stride each morning and each evening. A mountain of a man named Goliath of Gath, his bronze helmet gleaming under the harsh sun, his armor weighing more than a normal man. His voice, a deep and rumbling echo, rolled across the valley, a wave of pure intimidation. He mocked the armies of Israel, taunting their king, their soldiers, and their God. He dared any one of them to face him in single combat, to decide the fate of both nations, but no one answered. The bravest warriors of Israel could only tremble, their courage shriveling in the shadow of this behemoth. For 40 days, a giant mocked God's people, until one boy changed history. Far from the battlefield in the quiet hills near Bethlehem, a young shepherd named David tended his father's flock. He wasn't a soldier. He was the youngest of his brothers, often overlooked, his hands skilled not with a sword, but with a harp and a simple sling. His father, Jesse, sent him to the front lines, not to fight, but to bring food and news of his older brothers who served in King Saul's army. When David arrived at the camp, he wasn't met with the sounds of heroic battle, but with whispers of fear and the familiar booming taunts of Goliath. He saw the terror in the eyes of seasoned soldiers, men who had faced countless dangers but were now paralyzed by this one challenge. David's heart burned with a different kind of fire. It wasn't arrogance, but a righteous anger. How could this uncircumcised Philistine be allowed to defy the armies of the living God? David's brothers scorned him. "Why have you come down here?" they asked. "Who did you leave these few sheep with in the wilderness?" But David's conviction was uncheckable. He went before King Saul, his youthful face a stark contrast to the king's weary and defeated expression. "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine," David declared with a boldness that stunned the royal court. "Your servant will go and fight him." Saul looked at the boy, his shepherd's staff in hand, and saw only a youth, no match for a warrior trained from birth. He offered David his own armor, his bronze helmet and coat of mail. David tried them on, but they were heavy, unfamiliar. He couldn't move freely. He took them off, choosing instead the tools he knew, the weapons he trusted. He walked to a nearby stream and chose 5 smooth stones, placing them in his shepherd's bag. With his staff in one hand and his sling in the other, he walked out into the valley to face the giant. Goliath looked down at the approaching boy and laughed, a scornful, booming sound. "Am I a dog," he roared, "that you come at me with sticks?" He cursed David by his gods and promised to feed his flesh to the birds and the wild animals, but David did not flinch. He stood his ground, his voice clear and strong, cutting through the giant's mockery. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel." Then something shifted. The shepherd boy began to run, not away, but towards the giant. In a fluid, practiced motion, he reached into his bag, took out a stone, and placed it in his sling. He began to swing it faster and faster, a blur of leather and motion. The air whirred. Time seemed to slow. With a final, powerful whip of his arm, he released the stone. It flew straight and true, a tiny missile of faith against a mountain of flesh and bronze. The stone sank into the giant's forehead. Goliath staggered, his eyes wide with shock. Then, with a ground-shaking thud, he fell face down on the earth. Silence, and then a roar. Not from the Philistines, who stood frozen in disbelief before turning to flee, but from the army of Israel. A wave of courage surged through them as they chased their enemies from the field. A great victory was won that day. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone. The shepherd boy who was overlooked, the one who relied not on his own strength, but on the power of his God, had done the impossible. His story echoes through the ages, a powerful reminder for all of us. No matter what giants you face in your life, fear, doubt, anxiety, or impossible challenges, remember the boy, the stone, and the unshakable truth. No giant is bigger than God. Thank you for watching. If this story inspired you, please subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. We'll see you in the next video.